Talking with Louie Giglio today, the founder of the Passion Conferences and co-writer with Chris Tomlin. And Louie, I don't know if you even remember or not, but you and I actually met a couple years ago at an event at Chris Tomlin's property. It was a gold record celebration.
That was the day we buried my mom. I remember it well.
I remember just kind of standing there going, man, I don't know how you do that on a day like that. That's just, whew.
That was a great night, though. I felt like even in our family, you celebrate life and death. That's what happens in the journey we're on. And it seemed like for us, that's kind of what happened that day. It was like we're celebrating the life of what God's doing through Chris and through these songs. And my mom, honestly, would have loved nothing more than to have been at that night and for me to have been there as well. So it's kind of one of those beautiful things. She loved Chris. Chris loved her. And so it all kind of fit together, but it's obviously a day we'll always remember.
I remember you talking about how she was maybe I'm remembering this not quite right, but how she was such an ardent supporter of you and Shelley and Chris and the whole Passion movement, and how she was a fan herself, and how she had been like such an inspiration to you guys. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, the thing we always joke about, my mom was here in Atlanta, so she was at Passion City Church with us. She was at every Passion event, that she could possibly attend. And she would always come up to, like if Crowder was in town, I'd always see her come up and hug Crowder, and I could see her whispering to him, you're my favorite out of all the Six Steps artists. And then Redmond would be in town, and I'd see her huddle over next to Redmond and say, you're my favorite out of all the Six Steps artists. And then she'd see Charlie, and she'd go, oh, Charlie, you are my favorite out of all the Six Steps artists. And I think every single person in the Passion family, I know our staff team here, all of our artists, everyone felt like my mom was their biggest supporter. And she was. I guarantee you she prayed for every single one of us and one of them. And she loved the music. She was obviously 80 when she died, but she would fight you, over a Chris Tomlin CD or a David Crowder Band CD or a Passion CD. And the thing I said that night, which was really so profound for me, was, Chris and I wrote a song called I Will Rise. And we wrote a song, sort of a contemporary song for people to sing at the grave. And that morning of that gold party, Chris had sung that over my mom's grave, a song that he and I had written together for people in that moment. And it was so stunning for me, and I think for him too, in a way, to say, some of these songs have become the soundtrack of other people's lives. But God's given us this grace and this gift of writing the soundtrack for our own lives, and that's a pretty humbling and amazing thing.
Yeah.
The songs that you feel like maybe God is giving you to help steward someone else through their hard time, that actually at the end of the day that song comes back on the water and it stewards you through your hard time as well.
It's really fun to talk to you about your mom, because I guess, I'm a dad of two kids myself, and one of the things that the Lord has really laid upon my heart since becoming a father is how perhaps our greatest calling on this earth is to share the gospel with our kids. And, the prime mission field is my home and my kids in a lot of ways. And I hear you talking about your mom, and it feels like your mom got that, and that she was more than just a mom to you, but that she was, I don't know, kind of a spark that lit the fire. Because, come on, Passion is huge. And, and there's, you going all over the world, tens of thousands of college kids coming out to this thing. You've had these bands like Crowder and Chris Tomlin and Matt Redman and Charlie Hall. Just on, and Christian Stanfill. And behind it all, it sounds, and if I'm putting words in your mouth, correct me, but behind it all, it sounds like there's this little woman who just was almost the fire in your bones a little bit. It's just fun to hear.
Well, there are a lot of influences, in my life. There are at least a handful of men and women that no doubt have shaped my whole trajectory of faith, but none greater than my mom. I come from a Catholic dad, Baptist mom, so I kind of had that, who are we as a family thing growing up. But what I saw in my mom was not a denomination. What I saw in my mom was a woman of courageous faith. And she believed in God. She was an intercessor. In fact, there's a notebook, a spiral notebook. I'm looking at it right now just off the side of my desk that my mom had by her bed, and it was where she journaled a lot of her prayers in the last years of her life for sure. And, I kind of knew when we lost my mom, when she didn't want to spiral notebook out every night and pray for the girls at Wellspring Living here in Atlanta that have come out of human trafficking, and she didn't want to pray for the world tour cities we were headed to. But in this notebook, in really small print, my mom had Parkinson's in the last part of her life, and her handwriting started to deteriorate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we go on a tour event to Tokyo or to Vancouver, Hong Kong, to Sydney, to Paris, London, Cape Town. My mom's got every city, every date, and every person's name, not just Chris Tomlin, but also Daniel Carson playing guitar, and not just the band, but the guy doing the lighting, the guy doing the sound, the people who are running logistics. She's got every name in there.
Whoa.
And so what she was to me was a woman who loved God, who was tenacious in her faith and believing God to do things only God could do, someone who is a servant, and that's what intercessors are, because there's no prize in that closet with God except God. And, I wondered how we were going to make it without her. But my mom would come to Passion with 3 or 4 ladies about her age. And they were sort of the rat pack of Passion, and it was her and these other 3 or 4 women. And
That's awesome.
They had carte blanche. They can go anywhere, do anything they want to do. But they're there to pray. And those other women rose up a little over a year and a half ago, and they said, hey, we just want you to know that we've got your back, that we're going to be interceding for you and praying for you, and we're going to be at Passion on the ground, not just because your mom was there. We're going to be there. We're going to be there anyway. And those women were there at Passion 2012 at the Dome, and I know they were there praying relentlessly for Shelley and for me, and picking up the mantle of Martha Jean Giglio and continuing to pray for us. And God poured out in an amazing way. And that's just a hope for all of us, that there's always another page to be turned. There's always more grace for God to pour out. And the hope of what we're doing is not a person, but it is the person of Jesus Christ and the life that he brings.
Part of what I love about that story, too, as you're talking, is hearing stereotypes being just completely blown out of the water. Because you think about Passion, and it's largely focused on college kids and getting college kids excited. And, obviously it's not like you don't want anybody else to listen, but, it's got the heart of it. It feels like, at least, is very much focused on kids in that age bracket and getting them excited about Jesus. And then behind the scenes is like the Red Hat Club a little bit. Behind the scenes, you have a generation, not just mentoring, but holding up the younger generation.
Absolutely. I think the thing I've loved to see is that, what my mom would always say, she would tell me after church on a Sunday, she'd say, I loved church Sunday. I could just feel the Spirit. Mm-hmm. That was her litmus test for whether it was good or not. Mm-hmm. It wasn't you preach your best talk, and she was a huge fan, so she thought all my talks were wonderful. It wasn't just that Chris or Christy led in such a powerful way, or Matt led in a powerful way, but she would always say, I just love that. I could feel the Spirit. And I've met a lot of people my mom's age in their 70s that are just dead, spiritually dead. I've also met a lot of people who are 17 years old who are spiritually dead.
True story.
And everybody in between. It's not age specific. Mm-hmm. It's really Holy Spirit specific. And older people who are filled with the Spirit, they may not prefer David Crowder album, but they don't mind it because they can feel the Spirit in it. And that's their litmus test. And because they have a heart for the church to emerge. And when you're close to death, you don't want it to be all about you. And a church that's full of 60 and 70 and 80-year-olds that says it's got to be our way is really a church that just says we're just a few days away from closing the doors now. And at Passion City, I'm 53. But what I always say to our people at Passion City Church is that we're going to always lean toward the young people. Now, they need us because we have experience and wisdom that they don't have. Mm-hmm. But we're going to always lean toward them because when you lean toward the young people in the church, then you ensure that the church has a future. And that's what I want to ensure. And my mom wanted that as well. And, my mom, I love it because she was tenacious. And I don't know if she didn't know me personally or know us all personally, how big a fan she would have been. But I'm telling you, if it had the Holy Spirit in it, my mom was for it.
Wow. You know, I heard somebody say once in a sermon, and it always stuck with me. I'm sure you've had that happen too, and you hear other sermons. There's just sometimes things stick. And they said every church is one generation away from extinction. And I think that's why I love the passion of passion, pun not really intended. But, you know, I mean, you see, I've never had a chance to actually be at a passion. I've had a chance to watch. I have my first introduction, Louie, to passion was the Everything Glorious DVD a few years back. And you see this auditorium just full of 20-somethings, teenagers and 20-somethings raising their hands in praise to God and just like about to lift the roof off this stadium, in worshiping God. And it did my heart so much good because back in the day before I worked in radio, I was a youth pastor. And my heart always broke to see what felt like sometimes kids just hemorrhaging, hemorrhaging out of the church because they didn't feel like there was any place for them, or there's any number of reasons, I'm sure. But tell me a little bit, maybe more about the heart of why you founded Passion, you and your wife, and I think there's a few others involved. But why did you guys found it?
Well, for the very reason you're talking about. I was a campus pastor for 10 years before Passion came online. And somewhere about that 10th year, I got impacted by some numbers from a survey. It's called the Freshman Norms, a CIRP survey that's taken every year of 250,000 incoming freshmen into the universities of America and 400 schools across America. Mm-hmm. And in that survey, they asked two spiritual questions. One is, do you consider yourself a born-again Christian? And every year about 78% of the students say, no, I don't. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, there's almost 19 million university students in America, and so if you extrapolate that, 80% of them are going to sleep again tonight without any clue about why they're on this planet,
right? Then
you're motivated. And also from the church side, it's always been a crossroads, and it's where 18, 19, 20-year-olds start asking the questions, is this just what our family did every Sunday, or is this what I believe? Mm-hmm. Is this what my mom and dad believed, or is this what I believe?
Right.
I think that's a great question, and I think every 18-year-old should ask that question. I just want to be standing at that crossroads saying, his name is Jesus, and before you cash it all in or, hang up, the experience of your youth, consider Jesus. He is a radical revolutionary. There is nothing you're hungry for or thirsty for on any level tonight that will not be met and exceeded by him. And so Passion was born out of a desire to see university students awaken to Jesus, awaken to the singular purpose of living their lives to make him known, which is the most significant thing any of us can do with our lives in whatever field, whatever area we're in. And so that's what we're living to do. And I tell you one thing, to do an event like Passion 2012 at the Dome, we had 2,000 volunteers there. We call them door holders.
Wow.
They're all over the age of 25, up to the age of 85. And they are there serving alongside of Shelly and me and our team, serving meals, staying up late, touch team, ushering, hosting, and they do an incredible job. And when you see them walking away, you realize Passion is for the university moment. Our target is unashamedly 18 to 25-year-olds. But listen, all you got to do is get within proximity of the building, and it doesn't matter what age you are, God's going to blow you out of the water.